And so far, among the Democratic candidates, what is your sense of some of the issues that the Black Lives Matter movement has been most involved in, especially changing the culture and the practice of policing in America? How have they been responding?
So one of the things I think is important to note is that here is an iteration of a movement that squarely placed its critique on the state. This is about state-sanctioned violences of many types. And it makes sense to me why it is that folk would be resistant to not only providing endorsement, but to supporting the state and anyone representing it when the state is actually the object of critique. But there are issues beyond policing. So policing, overcriminalization and policing in communities, environmental health concerns like in Flint, Michigan, unemployment, undocumented status of people of color. There's so many other areas that are of concern that haven't actually been sort of spelled out and broken down by candidates in ways that speak to the needs of Black Lives Matter organizers. I should also say you have to remember that this is a multi-generational movement. There are people who are on the streets and involved in this movement who were there in '96 when the Welfare Reform Act was passed. They were there in 1994 when the Violent Crime Act was passed. They have a sense of how Clinton had a part in the doing, in proliferating and spreading a lot of the problems that we're talking about now. And then there are some who may have lacked that political consciousness who's coming to it now.
I want to go back to 1994, what you're referring to, Darnell. When Hillary Clinton appeared on C-SPAN to back the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act.
We keep going. With respect to the crime bill, I think as more Americans focus on the fact that this bill would have put more police on the street, would have locked up violent offenders so they never could get out again, would have given more prison construction money available to the states and as well as the federal government, but also would have dealt with prevention, giving young people something to say yes to. It's a very well thought out crime bill that is both smart and tough. I think Americans are going to say, why these political games? Why are we once again letting certain special interests call the shots in Washington? And we will eventually get a good crime bill like the president has proposed. It'll just take a little longer than it should have.
That was Hillary Clinton back in 1994. I wanted to turn to Michelle Alexander, the author of the new Jim Crow Mass Incarceration, The Age of Color Blindness, who recently wrote on her Facebook page, quote, "If anyone doubts the mainstream media fails to tell the truth about our political system and its true winners and losers, the spectacle of large majorities of black folks supporting Hillary Clinton in the primary races ought to be proof enough." She said, "I can't believe Hillary would be coasting into the primaries with her current margin of black support if most people knew how much damage the Clintons have done, the millions of families that were destroyed the last time they were in the White House, thanks to their boastful embrace of the mass incarceration machine and their total capitulation to the right-wing narrative on race, crime, welfare, and taxes."